Hello. So recently I've seen this video, and in my opinion, this is a perfect example of how you should not do modals in Hotwire using Ruby on Rails 7. So the episode basically goes through using a stimulus controller to respond with turbo frames. And in my opinion, this is just not the way, not the right way to mix turbo frames and streams and stimulus. So in this episode, we are going to go through the right way to do modals using Hotwire and mixing turbo frames, turbo streams, and the stimulus in the exact places where they should be used. So here I have an example small application. Here I have a basically empty list of posts. I can click new post, hello, or actually I will just try to submit first. You see I get an error, and the error is being rendered by turbo inside this turbo frame. So this logic is all self-contained in a turbo frame, and we don't use any turbo streams to render the errors. And you see we get this failed to load resource with the status 42 that is unprocessable entry. So this is also a correct error status. And if I manage to create a post, the modal is dismissed and the post is added to the list of posts using turbo streams, and the modal is dismissed only on successful form submission using a tiny bit of stimulus. So the same goes with edit. I can edit a post, and the form is dismissed only on successful form submission using stimulus, and the changes are being displayed on the page using turbo streams. So let's try to replicate this and go through all the pitfalls step by step. I'm going to create a new Rails application. So I will say Rails new Hotwire modals, and the database will be PostgreSQL, and the CSS will be Tailwind. Okay, so Turbo has been installed, Stimulus has been installed, looks good. In the meantime, to use the application on Cloud9 that I'm using at the moment, I will need to go to development.rb and say config .hosts equals nil. Then I will go to procfile.dev and say the port is going to be 8080. And now I can create a database, RailsDB create. Okay, yeah, I need to navigate to the app. So Hotwire modals, RailsDB create, DB migrate. And I can actually already create a list of posts. So I will say Rails generate scaffold posts title and body. That will be text. Okay, and again Rails DB migrate. And to start the server, I'm going to use the procfile. So ./bin/dev. Okay, foreman has not been found, so I will say gem install foreman. Okay, now again /bin/dev, and we're starting the local Rails server via this procfile. Now I will refresh, and yeah, I'm on a new Rails 7 app. If I go to /posts, I will see an empty list of posts. I can make this the root URL by going to roots and say root posts index. Okay, so here I have our list of posts. And now when I click new post, it normally redirects us to the posts new. I can create a post, and I'm redirected to the post show page. Going back to the list of posts, I have one post. Okay, looks fine. And now we are actually going to start adding modals, and we're going to add them with the turbo frames. So turbo frames allow us to open a piece of our application, a view that is connected to a controller in a self-contained piece of our screen. So it's like opening an iframe, but better. And to be able to open a TurboFrame from any page in our application, we are going to add a TurboFrame tag on our layout. So going to our app, views, layouts, application HTML. Here above yield, I'm going to add a TurboFrame tag equals TurboFrame tag modal. And if I refresh the page, nothing actually happened. But if I go to elements, I see that we have this TurboFrame with an ID modal, and we have it no matter where we go on our page. Yeah, on all the pages in our application, we are going to have this TurboFrame ID modal. So we are going to be able to open a modal from anywhere in our application. And now we actually want to have a link that targets the modal. So when I click new post, I want to have the HTML from new post rendered inside the TurboFrame modal. So to do this, I will go to our posts index, and here I have our new post, and I will say data TurboFrame modal. Okay, now let's click new post, and you see the TurboFrame with this ID modal has been given a reloadable value and a source to /post/new, but it is still empty. Why is it empty? If we open our console, we have this response has no matching TurboFrame ID modal. So we try to go to the URL posts new, but it doesn't have a modal, a TurboFrame with the ID modal. So we can actually wrap all the content in this new HTML ERB into a TurboFrame tag. I'll just grab this TurboFrame tag, add it on top, then open a block and an end statement on the end. So we have wrapped all this content into the TurboFrame tag modal. Now, if I go back and refresh, click new post, you see it has been opened. So going to elements, inside this TurboFrame, we have the HTML rendered from our new post page. Looks good. If I click create post, well, nothing really happened, but if I refresh the page, you see we have a post created with an empty title. Let's actually add some validations on our posts so that we don't have the opportunity to create empty posts. I will say validates, name, presence, true. Now when I click new post, create, validates name, presence, true. This should work. Let's go to new post, create post, and nothing happened. Yeah, sure, because we don't have a name. It should be title. So validates title, presence, true. Now again, I go to post, click create post, and you see we have this fun error prohibited the post from being saved. So the errors are being rendered. Now let me try to create a post. I click create post, and you see we get this response has no matching TurboFrame ID modal. Why is it so? Well, if we go into our posts controller, we have this create action. So if the post is saved, it tries to redirect. It actually tries to redirect this TurboFrame that was opened into our post show page. So it's trying to go to this post show, and it's trying to find a TurboFrame with the ID modal, but it doesn't find such a TurboFrame, so it gives us the error. And actually, we don't want to try to redirect to the show page. Instead, we want to respond with the format turbo stream, and we want the newly added post to be visible in our post list. So it should be visible here. And this is the perfect place to use TurboStreams. So if posts save, they're going to use TurboStreams to add a new post to our posts list. So I will say format dot TurboStream do render TurboStream, and now TurboStream. So they're going to add the using append on the bottom or prepend on the top. They're going to use TurboStream dot prepend, and we're going to add our newly created post to this div with the ID posts. So to posts, and we're going to render the partial named post/post. And if we open this partial post, we have a local variable that is post, and here we have it as at post. So we will say locals post will be at post, and this should work. So now when I create a new post, I expect us to respond with the format TurboStream because it takes precedence over format HTML in a controller response. And I expect the new post to be added on top of the list. So a new post. I click create post, and you see it has been added on the top of the list, but the modal has not been dismissed. And we also don't have that previous error that we had when redirecting to the posts show that there is no match in TurboStream. So something works and something doesn't. Now, we want to dismiss our modal only if we have a successful form submission. So if we don't have a successful form submission, we don't want to respond with the format TurboStream, and we don't want to dismiss the modal. Now, how can we do this? Well, for this, we're actually going to use a tiny bit of stimulus. If we open the Turbo Handbook, we have the form submissions part of Turbo Drive. And here we have this event, Turbo Submit End. So we can use this Turbo Submit End, and based on the, well, when we click Submit, we will know if the form submission is successful or not, and only if the form submission is successful, we will remove the modal. If it is not, we will not remove the modal. So for this, we're going to add a tiny stimulus controller, and I'm going to generate a stimulus controller. I will say Rails generate stimulus turbo modal. Yeah, let's name the controller turbo modal, whatever. We've added this controller. If we go to our app, JavaScript controllers, turbo modal controller, we have connect. So yeah, let's see if we can connect to this controller. I will say console.log hello from turbo modal. And let's initiate this controller in our new view. So here we have turbo frame tag modal, and we can actually wrap everything into one more div with data controller turbo modal. I'll wrap this content into this div. Okay. And now I will start the server once again. So going to bin dev. We have the console open. And if I click new post, we have hello from turbo modal. So the controller has been initiated. Looks good. And now we are going to listen to whether the submission was successful or not. So how can we do it? Well, we're going to go back to our new view. And here we have our data controller turbo modal, and we're going to add a data action. And the action is going to be turbo submit end. So this action turbo submit end, when we click submit, and it will go to the turbo modal controller. So to this stimulus controller, and we'll add an action named like submit end, for example, submit end. And we will create the submit end action here. So it will have an event. And again, we can say console.log, and we will have this event. Now let's see if anything happens. I click new post, I click create post, and here we have this event. And what do we have? Is trusted false, some params, whatever. Now, if we open here, we have the success false. So it was not a successful form submission. You see, success false. So we can open the event detail success. e.detail.success. And we will get a true or false value based on the form submission. Now I click create post, we get false. I successfully create a post and we get true. So now inside the stimulus controller, we know whether the form submission was successful or not. And based on this, we can hide the modal. I can add a new action named hide modal. And it will be very simple. We will just say this.element.remove. And I will call this hide modal from the submit end event if the submission is successful. So if e-details is successful. So if e-details is successful, then I will call this.hide modal. This.hide modal. And now I can remove this. I don't need this either. So if the form submission is successful, we're going to trigger hide modal, and hide modal is just going to remove this element. I refresh, I click new post, create post. You see, it didn't create the post and the modal has not been removed. Now I create a post, and you see it has been TurboStreamed to the list of posts, and the modal has been removed. So you see, we have our turbo frame with ID modal with no content. Now, again, I open and it has been given some content. I successfully submit and the content has been removed. And now it works. So here we have the perfect combination of using TurboStreams, TurboFrames, and Stimulus. And if, for example, you wanted to add Turbo modals not only for creating posts but to editing posts, it would also be quite easy. We would go to our posts post, and here we have this link to edit, and here we would also add data turbo frame modal. So when we click edit, we are going to respond with the turbo frame. Now it is edit this post, and we want to respond with a modal. You see, again, we have this response has no match in turbo frame ID modal. So we are going to go to this new, and here we have this HTML and our turbo frame tag. We are going to add this to the edit action. So going to our views, posts, edit. We are also going to wrap all the content inside this edit post, inside the turbo frame tag and inside the div with the stimulus controller, like this. So again, I click edit, and you see we have edit in the post in the modal. I click another post, and we have the content of that other post. So looks fine. Now I will try to submit. Here we have this post without a title. I will say with a title. I click update. The modal has been removed, and if I refresh, it has a title. So here we have with the title, and also we can go to our post controller and add this turbo stream. Also, if the post has been updated. So if the post has been updated, we're going to not prepend, not add this post, but we're going to replace. So we're going to replace the post with itself. I think something like this should work. Let's try to see. I go to edit, hello 2, update post. And you see we have hello 2. We had no page refreshes, and the post has been updated with a body, update post, and with the body, and the modal has disappeared. So that's it. Now, of course, you can also do some styling if you want on the modals. You can move the HTML that is being repeated into an additional partial, but it is all improvements you can do on top. This is already not so relevant to this video. So what did we do? Just to recap, on a link, we add our data TurboFrame modal that goes to our application TurboFrame modal, and on its place, it adds the content from the TurboFrame tag. And we also use a tiny stimulus controller to see if the form submission was successful or not, just to close the modal. So that's it. Thanks for being with me, and have a nice day.